mostly true crime here. I have sort of an unsolved, but kind of solved case for you tonight. It is one that I have kind of held on to because I kept hoping that I would find more information. I also apologize that this video is a day late. Over on my Patreon, I told you guys that things have just been insane around here with stuff going on, so my apologies. It's Sunday morning. I'm going to post this for you tonight, and let's get to this case. I have titled this The Foss Lake Disappearances, and as I tell you the story, you'll understand why I couldn't name it just one individual's name. 6 people disappeared from 2 tiny towns off of Route 66 in western Oklahoma. 2 towns called Chanute and Sayre. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, and my apologies. I've been to Oklahoma. It is absolutely beautiful. Anyway, these 6 people disappeared in 2 years. 3 of them in 1969, and another 3 of them in 1970. The strangeness of these 2 events has spun numerous conspiracy theories over the years regarding just what happened to these 6 people. So we're going to start on November 20th of 1970. Jimmy Allen Williams picked up his friends Thomas Michael Rios and Leah Gail Johnson in his brand new bright blue 1969 Camaro. He had had this car a total of 6 whole days. It was Friday night in Sayre, Oklahoma. This is a town of less than 3,000 people. Jimmy, who worked part-time in a grocery store, told his parents that he was going with his friends to a football game in Elk City, which was around 25 miles away from his hometown. And with the help of one of his younger brothers, he loaded the trunk of his car with shotguns ahead of a planned hunting trip. A friend named Wayne later confirmed that he also planned to hang out with his pals, but changed his mind when he felt that there was not enough room in Jimmy's new car for 4 people. That night, when Jimmy failed to return home, his parents assumed he had just gone ahead and gone hunting. Remember, the brother saw him loading the shotguns into the trunk of the car. But hours turned into days, which quickly gave way to panic. His parents called anyone who may have known their son. Old girlfriends, high school buddies, friends that lived 100 miles away in Oklahoma City. That's where they had moved from the year before. His family even drove around to speak with many of these people. They were just like any family, with was very suspicious that they might have unearthed somebody's place where they had been hiding bodies. You know, when you find 6 bodies in the water all together, the first thing that you think of is foul play. Highway patrol officers assumed that these were probably stolen vehicles that were long ago dumped into the camouflaging waters of Foss Lake. DNA testing confirmed suspicions that the bodies were those of the missing teens, Jimmy Williams, Leah Johnson, and Thomas Michael Rios. The mud-caked Camaro was submerged, as I said, in just 12 feet of water. It was about 50 feet from the end of a boat ramp. It was found alongside the Chevrolet. Strangely, that car, which we'll talk about, was connected with an earlier but unrelated missing persons case. It contained the bodies of Claiborne Hammock, John Alva Porter, and Nora Marie Duncan, who I mentioned before disappeared in 1969 after they stopped to ask for help getting their car started. The road that leads to the ramp dead ends. It intersects with another road about 700 feet from the lake's edge. To some people, it seemed quite unlikely that local kids would have turned off the main road and driven across the small parking lot and straight into the lake. I have some thoughts about that, but Kari Williams, the brother of Jimmy, was just 12 years old when all of this happened, and for years he had taken his boat out to Foss Lake without a clue that he was just feet from his brother's watery grave. He said, quote, "I could have touched the top of their car. I was that close to them. It's unbelievable to know that they were that close all of this time, and it took nearly 40 years to realize it." End quote. Jimmy's body was found along with his brown cowboy boots, his pink card, and a 1972 gold-colored high school ring. Authorities said that accidental drowning was the probable cause of death, doing quite little, in my opinion, to shed some light on the mystery that has hung over these two small towns for decades. Everyone suspected foul play, and when there were 2 cars pulled from the lake, people have been talking about these 6 kids going missing for 43 years. And nearby residents said, that the kids were frightened by it. People didn't really discuss it very much, but of course there were tons of rumors that swirled. Now, not a lot remained of the initial investigation into these cases, which is why I don't have a lot of information to give you. This is many articles pieced together to give you the disappearance of these 6 kids. The Sayre Police Department doesn't have any records from the 1970s. All they have is a missing Lucia Van Zandt, whose brother Thomas was in the car, said their mother didn't ever want to leave Oklahoma because she said if Thomas came back, he would be looking for them. Gary Williams said that the discovery does provide some closure, but he still isn't sure that these deaths were accidental. Said that he believed they came across some bad people, and that he thought for sure it was foul play, but that he would never be able to prove it. Now, if you think, well, Shannon, you're not telling me anything, because there's not anything to tell, and in fact, there's even less information about the second car. This car, including its license plate, was so badly rusted, that's how I typed it too, rusted, that the investigators, all they can say is that it's a green Chevy. So helpful. Police said that the vehicle appeared to be associated with the disappearance of the other 3 people that I mentioned before, last seen in Chanute. It's about 10 miles south of the lake, and they disappeared in 1969. But there's even less information about this case, beyond the long ago told stories that aren't exactly recorded for internet archives for me to research. In 1973, while he was working as a state trooper in Custer County, a trooper named Peoples heard rumors that there were 2 or 3 people in a car, and they were last seen in Chanute. They were headed for Foss Lake, but they were never seen again. Tim Porter and Debbie Porter McMahon said that they believe that it was the car of their grandfather, John Alva Porter of Rogers Mill County, just west of Custer County. He disappeared in April 1969 at the age of 69. Debbie said, "I remember that green car. It's sad. I can see his tall, lanky body walking up to the car. He always had a smile on his face." 40-something years of wondering who or why. If it is my grandfather in there, it is a gift. John Alva Porter's son, Irvie, which is the cutest name, is now 89 with dementia, and he wasn't available for comment in any of the articles that I could find, according to his family. Debbie said that for years her dad would go looking for his father. He would take her mom, and they would just look for any trace of him. I mean, he was just gone, no trace at all. His money was in the bank, his house was intact, and he was just gone. So for 43 years, they've just been looking for him. On October 24th of this past year, medical examiners have stated that all 6 people died from drowning, and the deaths were ruled accidental. The discovery of their loved ones gave all of these families closure, but at the same time it left a lot of questions unanswered. Oh my gosh, there is like the loudest bird outside. I don't know if you can hear it. I apologize. It's early. Gary Williams said he thought if out of any of those 6 people, one of them would have gotten out of the car. If the car had just gone off the boat ramp, none of them got out. He found that very strange. The investigation revealed that the windows in both cars were rolled up, except the Camaro's driver's side, which was down about 4 inches. Due to the significant damage on the undercarriage of the Camaro, they believe that it crashed into the water. Police officers said, "I have 3 young kids in a muscle car, alcohol in the car. They probably just ran off the road and drowned." However, Kari is 6 days of owning it into the lake. I don't think it was an accident. He said Jimmy is not going to sit there in the driver's seat and just accept death by drowning without trying to kick a window out or something. Kari believes that Jimmy's car rolled into the lake backwards. He said it was found in the lake backwards in neutral. All the damage, every bit of the damage can be attributed to the backwards roll into the lake. It can be all explained, but there's some damage that, when you look at it from the other way, cannot be explained by a forward impact. Jimmy would have had to have turned completely around if you buy the forward impact theory. Trooper Hoyle, who I mentioned before, also agrees there are some things they cannot answer, but there's no evidence of foul play. He says, the facts are the facts, and I cannot change the facts. A lot of things happened that we probably don't know because we didn't actually see it happen, but we can look and we can see what is most probable. As for the 53 Chevy, Hoyle says there are even more unanswered questions about this car. The driver's side door was open, which is kind of a mystery all in itself. A whole lot of things there that we're really not able to determine about this car. Like the Camaro, evidence of alcohol was found inside the Chevy, but there was no damage to the vehicle. When they discussed it, Tammy, the granddaughter of this man, said, "We always felt like it was foul play, and that hasn't been completely ruled out of our hearts." The medical examiner's report ruled all the deaths an accident due to probable drowning, which is a determination that's quite unsettling to the families. Gary Williams said it seems reasonable to check the unknown box because we don't know what happened that night. We don't know. And nobody knows except God and the 6 people that drowned in these cars. So this is by far one of the strangest cases I've ever reported for you guys. I don't have any answers. Oh, sorry. My leg is asleep. I think it's completely strange that 2 cars went into a lake and were not found for 40 years, roughly, around. It seems to me now, okay, it doesn't seem completely strange to me that the windows were all up because, well, okay, hold on, I'm gonna go with one theory and then I'll go with the other. I know that from my experience, if you're in a car and it goes into water, the windows should be up because you can't open the doors because of the suction until the car completely fills with water. Now, it's potentially safe to say that second car, they were all in their 60s. I think it's quite probable that they just parked by the lake and something happened. Now, foul play, I don't know how I feel about foul play in these cases, because I find it very, very inconceivable that someone murdered these 3 people, put them, 6 people, potentially if you're talking about both cases, put them back in the car, rolled the car into the lake, and no one saw anything. I mean, to me, that seems unreasonable. I feel like there would be some kind of tire marks or tire tracks or something. Now, potentially, maybe they didn't look here. You know, I'm sure that if it's on a boat ramp, there were tons of tire tracks and boat tracks and, you know, things like that. And it was 40 years ago, so they can't exactly go back and look. I would find it extremely improbable that in 2 separate cases, all 6 of these people had been so drunk with the alcohol that was found in the vehicles that they were passed out, and that they rolled into the lake and just drowned without ever waking up. I find that highly, highly improbable, and I'm curious to know what you guys think potentially happened to the 6 people found in the 3 cars in Foss Lake. I read an article as I was researching this case because I got distracted about people that are diligently searching like Google Earth and Bing Maps and finding these lakes that look like they have vehicles in them, and people actually finding and solving these missing cases. So there is the potential chance that we might be discussing another case similar to this, but not one so strange. To me, I find it very strange that these 2 cars were side by side in the lake for 40 years. No one ever saw anything. No one ever researched anything. You can't tell me that this lake didn't get shallow, and I mean they were not that deep in the water. That it didn't get shallow enough from some kind of drought in the last 40 years, and no one saw anything. Nothing from these cars floated up and someone found it. No. A very, very strange case indeed. I am happy that these families now know where their loved ones are, and that they were able to be brought home and laid to rest properly, because the bottom of the lake is